Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Shifty's 49ers Talk. In this video, I'm going to be going over my Week 17 NFL Power Rankings. Now, as per usual in these videos, we're going to do the bottom 3 teams, and then we're also going to do the top 10 teams. Now, I will give you a couple of teams on either end of the spectrum that just barely missed out on my list. Now, there's a lot to talk about in this video, so let's not waste any time. Let's jump in. Coming in at would-be number 30 and third from the bottom in my power rankings, I have the Chicago Bears. They're 3-12 on the year. They've lost a league-leading 8 games in a row. They haven't won a game in over 2 months, which is just insane to think about. The defense been playing really badly, and that's somewhat to be expected. I mean, going into this season, they arguably traded away their best 2 defensive players in Robert Quinn and then, of course, Roquan Smith. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, you look at someone like a Justin Fields, and he's been trying to carry the load for this team. He's played pretty well this year throwing the football, done an amazing job with his legs, but moving forward, Chicago needs to fix the offensive line, maybe add another weapon or two, and the defense needs almost a complete overhaul. So they're, in my opinion, about 2 years away from seriously competing. Now, then coming in at number 31 in my power rankings, we have the Indianapolis Colts. 4-10-1 on the year. Safe to say the whole Jeff Saturday thing has been a complete disaster, giving away record-breaking leads, and then just looking downright awful against the Chargers on Monday Night Football. And here's the thing too, the Indianapolis Colts, worst turnover differential in the league. Basically, they're number 31 in offensive points per game, bottom 10 defense, and there's just a complete train wreck. 5 losses in a row, and I expect a complete revamp of that Colts team next season. And then, of course, coming in at the very bottom of my power rankings, it's going to be the Denver Broncos. The Broncos 4-11 on the year. Look, we know the Russell Wilson trade has been an absolute unmitigated disaster, but a couple of other things. Well, they do have the worst offense in football, but the defense giving up 51 points to the LA Rams, just atrocious. They have no first-round pick next year. I don't even think they have a second-round pick. The Broncos are in trouble. They got rid of their head coach, Nathaniel Hackett, and I just don't really know where they go from here. They're in a really precarious situation. Now, those are my bottom 3 teams in the NFL. The couple of teams who were pretty darn close to making it, the Cardinals, they got out of my bottom 3 simply for playing Tampa Bay really tough with their third string quarterback, so you got to give credit there. Look, the Houston Texans, they have the worst record in the NFL, so they always have to be in this discussion, but credit to them for beating the Titans on Sunday. But not only that, the last 2 games prior to that against very good teams, top 10 teams, they were able to put up really good performances. So there we have it, guys. My bottom 3, a couple of mentions. Coming up next is going to be my top 10 teams in the NFL. And for the first time in my top 10, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars, 7-8 on the year so far. They've won 3 games in a row. They are now top of the AFC South, and that really doesn't say much for the AFC South, but just full credit to Jacksonville. They've been playing really good football the last number of weeks, and you know who's been playing arguably the best at his position, believe it or not, is Trevor Lawrence. When you look at his last 7 games, 14 touchdowns, only 1 interception. That is phenomenal. The Jaguars have really turned it around. Evan Ingram, you know, some people thought maybe the Jaguars gave him a bit too much money, but only on a 1-year deal. But Evan Ingram has been stepping up in a big-time way. The defense has also been playing better in recent weeks. So the Jaguars, they could be a tricky team in the playoffs. You never know what can happen, but they need Trevor Lawrence to keep doing what he's doing. Now, coming in at number 9, I have the Baltimore Ravens. They're 10-5 on the year. They just keep churning out wins. Are they pretty? No, but they keep stacking those wins. And the big thing for me with Baltimore is A, they play great defense. The defense is top 5 in the NFL easily, in my opinion. But not only that, I think the Ravens are just really waiting to get Lamar Jackson back. And I think this goes to show you just how great of a player Lamar Jackson is. The fact that, look, Tyler Huntley, I think he's a solid backup option. but the offense has just completely come to a full stop without Lamar Jackson. So when they get him back for the playoffs, again, another AFC team that you just may not want to face when you get into the playoffs. Now, coming in at number 8 in my power rankings, and we have the LA Chargers. 9-6 on the year. They've stacked 3 wins in a row. This team is a very, very dangerous team. Austin Eckler has been scoring touchdowns at a crazy rate. Of course, you have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, and they're getting healthy. And Justin Herbert, we know he can sling the ball. But the defense is also playing a little bit better too. And it really is one of those things where when you look at the defense, and they've had a lot of injuries. Joey Bosa's been out, J.C. Jackson's been out hurt, and then I think there's been legal issues. But in their last month, they've given up less than 14 points per game, which is just really, really good, especially when you combine that with their offense. So Chargers at number 8. Now at number 7, I have the Minnesota Vikings, 12-3 on the year. And you might be saying, well, that record is really good. They should probably be higher than 7th. Well, the reason why they're not is really, they haven't had a super convincing win since November. Look, I give them full credit for the huge comeback against the Colts. They beat the Giants. Giants kind of made a comeback towards the end themselves. But here's the thing. When you look at the Minnesota Vikings, and here's why I think they could be in trouble come playoff time. Bottom 5 in defense allowed points per game. The offense, though, is really, really good. We know that, look, Cousins can throw at Justin Jefferson, best receiver in the league, I think we could probably say right now. Adam Thielen's still good. Hawkinson just had a really good game. Dalvin Cook, we know they can run the ball too. The defense worries me. And here's a big fact about that. We know how good the offense is, but on the year, their point differential only +5. So that defense really taken a step back this year. And now coming in at number 6, we're going to have the Dallas Cowboys at 11-4 on the year. Look, they had a close win and a big win against division rival Philadelphia. But of course, Philadelphia missing their starting quarterback. To me, when it comes to Dallas, is the fact that Dak has been a little bit inconsistent lately, you could say. In his last 5 games, 12 touchdowns, not bad at all, but 8 interceptions. And that's just one of those things where turnovers, especially when you get to the postseason or into that like do or die game, those things will absolutely kill you. So you'd like to see the last couple of games of the season, Dak Prescott cleans up the turnovers, play, just mistake-free football to a certain degree. But Dallas, and the concerning thing is giving up 34 points to a Gardner Minshew-led offense. There's plenty of talent on that offense, but still, to his first game that he's played in I don't even know how long. So that's a little bit concerning as well. The Dallas needs their defense to step up. And coming up next, we have the top 5 teams in my NFL power rankings. And at number 5, we have the Cincinnati Bengals at 11-4 on the year. Now, Cincinnati, they've won 7 games in a row. The only team with a longer win streak are the San Francisco 49ers. Now, when you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, they were up, 22-0 over the Patriots. Patriots score 18 unanswered points. They were driving to basically make a comeback there. So with Cincinnati, a little bit disappointing right there. And to me, that just takes them down one step in this week's power rankings. But overall, when you look at the Bengals, in terms of points per game, top 10 offense, top 10 defense. The defense has been playing a lot better too. So Cincinnati, one of those teams, and they have a massive, massive game Monday night, January 2nd against the Buffalo Bills. That is going to be must-see football and a potential playoff preview right there. Now coming in at number 4, I'm going to have the Kansas City Chiefs, 12-3 on the year. They had a really, really good win over the Seattle Seahawks. I streamed that game live on the channel. The big thing that stood out for me was we know the offense, they can score, they can put up points. But the defense completely shut down Seattle. Now, Seattle, of course, they were missing Tyler Lockett, but even still, Seattle did nothing. You look at the first half, I think Seattle had like 30 yards of offense, so that's really, really big for the Kansas City Chiefs moving forward. Here's the big thing for me. Look, we know how good the offense is, but they need to get that number 1 seed. I think Kansas City would struggle to a degree going into Buffalo. Buffalo already beat Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium earlier this year. You think in January that could be a really, really tough game for the Chiefs on the road. Now, coming in at number 3, I have the Philadelphia Eagles at 13-2 on the year. Look, they lost a very tough division game against the Dallas Cowboys. Jalen Hurts missing, that's a little bit of a cause for concern because it sounds like he could miss this weekend's game against the New Orleans Saints, who just had a big win themselves, and they're theoretically, if I'm not mistaken, still within a shot at winning the AFC South, so they're going to be playing tough against Gardner Minshew. But to me, looking kind of long-term at Philadelphia, it's one of those things where they had a bunch of turnovers against the Cowboys. They didn't look that great executing. Could have been better, but still, Philadelphia, in my eyes, are a really good team. And if and assuming Jalen Hurts is healthy in the NFC, I still think that you have to give them the number one, the best team in the NFC. But right now, no Jalen Hurts, could be a little bit rusty in his first playoff game, especially if they have a bye week, which, I mean, look, you'll always take the bye week in the playoffs when you can get it. But, you know, if he doesn't play against the Saints and maybe he doesn't play much week 18 and then there's a week off and then all of a sudden it's been a month since he's played football and you have a big, big game in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens there. Now, moving on to number 2, I have the San Francisco 49ers at 11-4 on the year. We've won 8 games in a row. Brock Purdy is really finding a rhythm, finding a groove. George Kittle's been exploding the last couple of games. In the last 2 games, George Kittle over 200 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns. The defense has been playing absolutely lights out. Really not a whole lot you can say right there. Just the Niners defense, far and away the best in the NFL. They did have a couple of hiccups against the Washington Commanders. I think Talanoa Hufanga, the Commanders were able to put him in some vertical stretches and even horizontal stretches too in their defensive scheme, and Hufanga kind of got caught out of place, so they cleaned that up. This Niners defense is easily the best, and they're getting Deebo Samuel back. We're going to have Deebo Samuel back potentially this weekend against the Raiders, although I think they sit him and maybe play him some against Arizona. But to me, 49ers with that offense, Purdy's looking good. Best defense in the NFL. Special teams has been solid. Niners, the second best team in the NFL. Now, before we get to the number 1 team, and I think we all know who it is, let's give a little shout out to some of these other teams who were close to making it. The Green Bay Packers, suddenly in the playoff picture. They've won a number of games in a row. Defense is playing better. Aaron Rodgers really stepping up. And that's a theme that you're going to be seeing all, like throughout my whole top 10, is the defense has been playing better. When you play good defense and you have some weapons on offense and a decent quarterback, man, that's just your recipe for success in the NFL. The other team I do want to give a shout out here, and it's going to be interesting depending on what happens with Tua, but the Miami Dolphins, look, they've lost 4 in a row. They were 8-3, but they've played some really tough teams. When you look at Miami, I mean, playing at San Francisco, playing at the Chargers, playing at Buffalo, like those are 3 really tough games. Then you play at home against the surging Packers. Tough stretch. Hopefully Tua is okay and he can play. But the Dolphins I still think are a good team on paper, but they've just had a really rough stretch. Can they turn it around before the playoffs? Now, of course, my number 1 overall team, and that's going to be the Buffalo Bills. 12-3 on the year. 6 wins in a row. Best point differential in football. And they're really, when you look at points per game, offensively, number 4. Defensively, number 2. Here's my only concern with Buffalo. Is the fact that they've been turning the ball over a lot. Now, on the year, they're actually even in terms of turnovers. They've taken away just as much as they've given away, but they've given the ball away 24 times. Josh Allen's thrown a lot of interceptions, including against Chicago on the weekend, 2 interceptions. So they've really got to figure that out, because one of those plays could be the deciding factor when it comes to a really close game against Kansas City or Cincinnati or Baltimore, whoever they play in the playoffs. Now, they do play Cincinnati Monday Night Football, and that's one to watch for everyone, and I can't wait to see how that turns out. But there you have it, guys. That's my top 10. You also got my bottom 3. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. When it comes to the power ranking videos, these are among my favorite when it comes to discussion in the comments. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. And remember, these are just my opinions, and they do change week to week. But I want to thank everyone for all the support lately on the channel. Really appreciate all that. I'll be doing a couple of live streams throughout this week and the weekend, so stay tuned for that. But guys, before I head out, I'm going to say 2 things. The butt counts. I'm going to catch you guys on the flip side.